Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the absolute worst but craziest season of Veep and West Wing all put together in one,
Mhm.
folks. I'm Tara Setmayer. This is Michelle Kinney. This is The Stakes, brought to you by the Seneca Project. Folks, how many times have I said that a week is a lifetime in politics?
Yes.
How
Yes.
many years, Michelle? You've been with me for a couple years now. How many years have I said this?
Every year that I've known you, which has been about 4 at this point, and I made a joke to Tara earlier today. If any of you are listening and know the musical Brigadoon, where 1 year in Brigadoon equals 100 years for the rest of the world, like that's what this feels like. It's
It does.
I'm
Like,
like, what
what is
day is it? What
happening?
week is it? I'm like, it's July 25th. Like,
Uh,
what?
I don't know what's happening. I don't. But all I know is that a week ago today, we were talking
Mhm.
about Donald Trump accepting the nomination. We were making fun of JD Vance.
That's
We had
right.
just come off the assassination attempt, which actually found like, actually was like old news by then.
Right.
Republicans were doing weird, like ear patch things, very cultish. We were talking
Uh,
about that. And then we were talking about obviously the growing pressure on President Biden to drop out. And we were like, oh, for the love of God, please stop with this already. Enough.
right.
Like, get it
Well,
together.
because AOC and Jasmine Crockett and many others, right, who were in these discussions in the rooms were saying, if you think like just the natural way of things is going to be Kamala Harris, you are mistaken because they are talking about replacing her with someone else. And like for me, other than just my love for Joe Biden, like that was my big concern was that this was going to turn into this giant shit show
Right.
of, contested conventions and blah, blah, blah. And it just,
Hmm.
we don't have time for that. We don't have
Right.
time for that.
Right.
But,
That was my argument too. I was like, what are we
right.
doing?
But everything, as it seems, is working out.
It has all, there's a song by Jay-Z back in the day called It Was All Good Just a Week Ago. And
And I
shout
know
out
the
to
drum of
the,
that.
Life and Times of Sean Carter, Volume One.
Right.
Um, it was all nuts just a week ago. And
Hmm.
now we have, since the last time we were all together, we have a new nominee. Joe Biden has cemented his legacy in history as a good and decent, heroic man. Sunday was like one day where we were actually last weekend, we were planning on doing this big push for our and the commemoration of the 176th anniversary of the Seneca Falls Convention.
That's right.
And we have this amazing ad. We previewed it here on the stakes with you guys. It's voiced by Alex Borstein, Emmy Award-winning actress from Marvelous Mrs. Maisel and Family Guy. She's on our advisory board. We were
Mhm.
all like going to Seneca Project it out last weekend. We were going to do our merch stuff because we've got really cool merch. And shout out to everyone that's purchased it
Yeah,
because guys, you guys have been blowing up our merch shop. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We
it's
have more.
amazing.
We have more. We're
Amazing.
going to show it tonight. We've got some new ones. Um, and we were all ready to do this. I was literally on Sunday dressed in my Seneca merch with my little iPhone about to go like, hey guys, buy our merch. And then Michelle calls me. And I'm like,
I'm like,
literally in the
"Where
middle
are
of the
you?
video.
Where
And I'm like, what's happening? We get the news that Biden's dropping out. And I was like heartbroken. I was crestfallen.
Mhm.
Michelle and I shed tears Sunday afternoon. It was a lot. There was a lot of emotion,
God. Yeah.
a lot of emotion. And, you know, that night, so if anyone lives in the DC area, they are familiar with the outdoor venue Wolf Trap. My husband and I are big supporters of Wolf Trap. We look forward to Wolf Trap concerts every summer
Mhm.
because you can picnic on the lawn and you can bring adult beverages and food and it's fabulous and it's not that expensive and it's like a community of people when you go. It's a whole thing. So shout out to
Right.
people from the DMV that understand what is the beauty of Wolf Trap. And we were already scheduled to go to Wolf Trap to see Nas and the National Symphony Orchestra commemorating the
Amazing.
30th anniversary
Amazing.
of the Illmatic album. Yes, I am a hip hop head as well. Anyway, and I'm in the middle of all of this and I'm like, I had my iPad set up when we got there and I was like drinking, we were eating, we were waiting for the show and it was like a 65% black crowd. And I got to tell you the energy in that
Mm.
crowd when people found out that, Joe Biden was stepping aside. People were sad and upset
Yeah.
how it all
Yeah.
went down. But the energy when we found out Kamala Harris was going to be the
Oh,
nominee and
yeah.
that Biden endorsed her right away, I sent you the videos. There was a
Right.
group of Black women, professional Black women behind me chanting Kamala, we're going to do this. They were chanting Seneca Project, which is really
Oh,
cool to see that
it's
like
really nice.
people are really starting to notice us. We've only been
Mhm.
around since June 18th, folks. Since
I know,
June
brand
18th.
new.
Brand new. So it was just invigorating and it gave me life. I was like,
Yeah,
okay, I went from
vibe shift.
to
Total vibe
right,
shift.
total vibe shift. So now here we are a week later, Michelle, and we're talking about couches and cat ladies. What is going on?
Oh my god.
What are we talking about? Well, we'll get to that. Stay tuned, folks. We'll explain the couches and the cat ladies because yes, it's JD Vance related because this guy
The
is
memes, the memes.
oh my god. Oh my god.
So good.
They're so good and like really crass. So we're gonna
Oh
keep
yeah,
it
can't show
classy.
them here.
No,
Not showing them.
we're
But
gonna keep it classy here. We have a
yeah.
sense of humor, but we're gonna keep it classy. But before we get to the couches and cat ladies, the fact that Kamala Harris has set records in the grassroots fundraising. I mean, I had my concerns. You and I, we've talked about this. I've been open about that. I had my concerns about this. But the grassroots support
Yeah.
really reinforced for me that, okay, I think we can do this now. I wasn't sure,
Mhm.
but I feel reinvigorated. I have to say, it's mixed
Yeah.
emotions, right? I'm
Yeah.
sorry to see Uncle Joe go. I love
Me
Joe
too.
Biden.
Oh my gosh.
We don't
His
deserve
speech
him.
yesterday too.
Oh my
It
God.
broke my heart. It
Me
broke my
too.
heart.
I know I see people in the comments talking about it too. And shout out to Robin. She knows about Wolf Trap. Yes. But like that speech last night, the way he's handled it, the way like she's performed really well so far. And
Yeah.
I'm like, this is good. All right. Okay. She
Mhm.
hasn't been in an unfriendly venue yet. She hasn't done a major interview. There's still a
Sure.
lot to go here. But so far, so good.
And
And the
something tells me she knows a thing or two about being in spaces where she's not welcomed. So,
yes.
I don't want to speak too soon, but I have full confidence in her abilities to be able to deal with those kinds of people and environments.
Yes, it feels like the last 3.5 years of being the vice president, she's grown into the job.
Oh,
And
totally.
she's a completely different candidate than 2020
Mm-hmm.
so far. I mean, we're less than a week in. I don't know what we're going to say next Thursday. Who
You know
knows?
what this feels like from the Dem side, right? Now, mind you, I was much younger in 2008, but I haven't felt this kind of energy from our side since then. I
Since
remember
Obama.
that. I
Yeah.
remember what that felt like. I mean, my best friend and I drove to DC and stood in the cold for hours to watch that inauguration. I was there by the Washington Monument. It was one of the most memorable days of my entire life. I mean, there was nothing like that.
Yeah.
And this, I'm feeling it. It's very, very, very
It's
similar.
palpable. It really is, folks. It's palpable. And how do we know this? Because MAGA's triggered.
Oh,
Ooh, are they triggered? I
oh,
the
my notifications on Twitter are,
I mean,
ah,
it's just disgusting. Like the nature of the
yeah.
attacks against her, which
Oh my
again,
God.
predictable, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, woman and woman of color, oh,
Mm,
forget it, especially with the MAGAs, because they're all about like the Jews will not replace us and the tiki torch people and the
right.
brown folks the brown menace is coming across the border. They're gonna all replace us. And it's like the fear and
Exhausting.
loathing about other people, the otherizing of anyone who's not a white Christian
Mhm.
man
Right.
is that's who the Republican Party is today. Sorry, that's who you are. That's why I left
Mhm.
it. MAGA has fully taken over, and they are freaking losing it. Now, I often joke that I'm a boomer, even though I'm only 48. I'm really not. My parents are boomers, and my mom has done some funny boomer stuff recently. I always send you like the boomer story of the day,
Oh, yeah.
Michelle, when my
Yeah.
mom's or my stepdad says something funny. Um, But I feel like a boomer sometimes when it comes to pop culture, because like it's so the Gen Zers and all that, and like
They speak another
it's a
language that
complete
I
no,
don't understand, and
no,
like, God
no.
bless, but I'm like,
I'm
"What are you saying?"
right. I'm still cool in my own mind, and that's fine. I'm gonna stay cool in my own mind, but some of the stuff that they say now and the memes, because I'm not in the TikTok world,
Mhm.
when these slurs were coming out about Kamala Harris this week, this whole Haktua
Mm.
thing, which
Oh my
I was like, I
god.
don't know what that is. And my mom last night discovered what that is. My mom is 70. She looks fabulous, by the way. Doesn't look a day over
Love your mom, love your
45. And anyway, so my mom is very cool and very hip most of the time too, except when she asks me things like, how do I use the iMac? She's talking about some not the desktop. But
Right,
anyway,
right, right.
um she came flying down the steps last night and was
Mm.
like, with her big old iPad in her hand, and was like, did you see this? Did you see this? What the? My mom was furious. And I said, yeah, mom, I saw it. She goes, do you know what this is? She said, these words should never be used. And I said, you're preaching to the choir. I said,
I
this
know.
is what MAGA's doing. On Fox Business, you say that about the
Oh, it's
sitting
disgusting.
vice president, and
It's
you're not
disgusting.
fired and condemned
I
resoundingly?
think he
No.
was taken off air, the guy whose name I don't know, I don't
I
care.
guess maybe for a
Um,
couple days. You should be
we'll
fired.
see how long, right, we'll see how long that lasts, but
Yeah,
it's and if you don't know what the Haktua thing, we're not gonna tell you
we're
about it
not gonna
here.
tell you.
Go look it up.
Look it up like my mom did, and you'll be just
Mhm.
as horrified by what it is. And the fact that it's being used now so casually as an insult against our sitting vice president,
That's
who may
disgusting.
potentially be the first female president of the United States. If we have anything to say about it, she will be.
Yeah.
And so that leads us to something
Mhm.
else that's going on. We the Olympics are coming up, and we have been churning out content, right? We've been going after JD Vance. We were one of the first out of the gate. We're very proud of this, to put a compilation of JD Vance's ridiculous, insulting comments about women out there.
Mhm.
One of them being the childless cat lady thing. And so we've been trying for 5 days actually to debut our
Oh, yeah.
childless cat lady merch. And because we're like, how insulting. And we started seeing, because both Michelle and I are childless cat ladies and
We
proud,
are.
I mean, we're not ashamed of that. We're not ashamed. And there are lots of childless cat ladies out there. And believe me, we're not the problem in America,
No.
JD Vance. It ain't us. Last time I checked, no childless cat ladies started like wars and, enslaved people and,
Right.
ravished the country. And I mean, stop. Okay. So we do now. Now people are starting to catch on more to the JD Vance
Mhm.
thing. And we actually have childless cat lady merch. We want to show you guys, because
Oh,
here it
yeah.
is. If you
Oh,
haven't seen
yeah.
it, cat ladies vote too, MFers, JD Vance, and
Mhm.
everyone else. We have, if you go to senecaproject.us, we have our merch shop. There's all kinds of
Yeah.
cool stuff there. These are prominently displayed. Shout out to my husband, who has helped us get this all together.
Yes.
He helped
I
with the
couldn't do it without him.
design. We could not have. Honey, thank you. He came to me, he goes, what do you think of this? I'm like, we love it. So we have it white, we have it in purple, we have this childless cat lady votes, we have cat ladies vote, and we have this
Mhm.
crazy cat lady votes.
Yep,
So
and there's a mug version too.
we
There's a
have
mug
a
version.
mug. We have a mug. So
Mhm.
F you to all of those people who seem to think that we're the problem. We're
Yeah.
not. Cats are like deities in some cultures. You don't go after the cats or the cat ladies.
Right.
You don't.
And
Jennifer
let me tell
Aniston
you, I
too.
grew up with dogs, and so, like, getting a cat as an adult, I didn't really know what to expect, and, like, cats are kinda badass, I'm not gonna lie.
Yes, they are. Cats are the best. I grew up around dogs too. I love
Yeah,
them, but there's nothing like a kitty. I
that's
love my
right.
Tiki. He's sleeping right now upstairs, all curled up and cute on his little chair with his pillow that says Tiki
Of
sleeps
course.
here. Tiki
They're
sits here.
royalty in our right, they're royalty.
They roll the roast, okay? They roll it. He runs the house. We just live here. Like, stop. Jennifer Aniston came out and
Mhm.
criticized JD Vance over this, and good for
Yep.
her for doing that, because she struggled with infertility. There are millions of women who
Yeah.
struggle with infertility, and we're tired of men, fertility shaming women as if they're lesser than because they don't have children. That's
Right.
bullshit. There is a litany of powerful, successful women who helped change the world that
Yeah.
didn't have children. Okay, from Sally Ride to Alice Paul to Julia Child
Susan
to
B. Anthony.
Susan B. Anthony. I mean, there's a litany of women. So like,
Right.
fuck off with that. So we had to, of course, wear our cat lady stuff with pride. And
Yeah.
this is resonating though. Again, it's
Mhm.
the same thing. Look, what did I say? I said over the weekend, MAGA has turned into a bunch of troglodytes and testosterone party. And
Mm.
they're going to overstep. I think they're going to overstep.
I think they already have,
I mean,
big
it's
time,
only
in my
started. We're only a
opinion.
couple days into this.
Right. Well, I mean, I think about, I know Hillary had 40 years of built up animosity from the other side and, millions of dollars of ads run against her for however many years. So people had, went into that election with their own feelings. But I do remember, the whole nasty woman thing, I think
Right.
is going to pale in comparison
Yes.
to
Yes.
what's going to happen here.
Yes.
And I think part of that is, the race issue with their side as well. And it's like the arguments happening in the comments and the MAGA side, like it is disgusting.
They're losing it.
It is disgusting.
Mhm.
And in 2024, you'd think we'd be past at least some of this. And it always just surprises me a little bit. I'm like, haven't we come further than this?
I know.
Or are
I know.
all of you just on the internet and you don't have anything else to do? You know what I
I
mean? It
mean,
just happens to be a majority of these people like living on Twitter or whatever. But
well, they've let these little things here are a blessing and a curse, and they've allowed people
yeah,
to be anonymous,
and their
miserable
worst
trolls
selves.
and their worst selves,
Mhm.
keyboard commandos, as I call them. And it's
From their mom's basements.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. It's but you know what? Again, I always believe there are more of us than there are of them.
That's right.
Uh, Twitter and social media isn't the real world. And
No.
so, we do live in that world and we do depend on it for a lot of things. But at the same time, like there's
Mhm.
a much bigger world out here
Majority
where
of people aren't on social
that's
media,
correct. That is correct. So, it's it's going to be interesting, but we have to
Yeah.
be prepared and we're built for this. I say this all the time.
Oh, yeah.
We are built for this. And when you galvanize women in large numbers, we are unstoppable.
Mhm.
So this whole thing with JD Vance and Trump and the MAGA misogyny, and now we have a female candidate at the top of the ticket. You have women saying, I've had it.
Yep.
Some of the things that they didn't like about Kamala before, I think, are inconsequential at this point for
I
a lot
agree.
of women. Um, and maybe they won't be, but they keep this misogyny up. I'm telling you, women are going to be like, F that. I don't care. I
Yeah.
don't
It's
care
too
about
much.
the others' petty things. We're not going to put up with being spoken to that way and
Yep.
our daughters being relegated to second class citizens, which
Mhm.
leads me to our ad that we have dropped today. Folks, like I said, the Olympics start tomorrow.
Mhm.
Everybody loves the Olympics. It brings us all together as Americans. We are proud of our accomplishments. Everybody rallies. I love the
Yeah, it's
Olympics.
great.
It's the
Brings
best.
everybody together.
It's the best. And this year is the first time that the Olympics have reached gender parity
Mhm.
in competition. So there are just as many female athletes as there are male athletes.
Amazing.
That's freaking cool. A little tidbit that I didn't know until recently in the run up to the Olympics, people talking about that. So Michelle had a great idea a couple weeks ago about moms and daughters with the Olympics coming up. And when she told me the idea, I said, this is freaking brilliant. Let's do it. So we embarked on the journey of putting this ad together. Michelle and her team. I only had a little bit of production, say on this. This was mostly Michelle and her team. And guys, I think this is the best ad we've ever done. We had other lives before we came to the Seneca Project, and there were some pretty good ads over there. But I have to say, I think this one tops even those.
And I
And
have to oh, sorry, Tara,
no,
I
go
didn't mean to
ahead.
interrupt you. I wanted to say, we write these ads ourselves and we have so much input and what goes into them and what you see
Yes.
and what you hear. And this is all coming from our hearts. Like
Mhm.
this is all coming from us inside because we care so, so very much about this. So, we're the test audience. We're the test audience, because if we like it, we think you will too. So
we don't focus group our ads. We don't ask
Mm-mm.
for permission. We don't focus group them.
Yeah.
This is our instinct, our heart, and this is what Seneca Project was born from. It was born out of women speaking to women.
That's right.
Not at them. Because
Mhm.
we were kind of tired of that. And women are tired of that.
Not
Women are
gonna do that
tired.
anymore.
We're not
No.
doing that anymore. That's not what we do. We're tired of that.
Yeah.
And our creative team has been incredible. We worked with the same team that put together our Time for Choosing ad. We love you guys. And we are going to share it with all of you right now. The ad is called We Must Win.
From the 6 a.m. practice to the away game pickup, from her first goal to the state finals, from the big wins to the big lessons, we take care of all the little things. We do these little things so our daughters can achieve big things. We do all of this for their future. And this fall, that future is on the line. We have come so far, but we have one big thing left to do for our daughters. Their rights are on the ballot, and we won't go back. Not now, not ever. This fall, we will go for the gold, and we must win for them.
I've seen that ad I don't know how many times, and
Yeah.
it still gives me all the
It's
feels.
the little girl at the end. Well, it's the Simone Biles pass, where she sticks the landing, and then the little girl running through the finish line. It gets every single time.
You know why, Michelle? Because even for us not being mothers, but we have friends. We're like auntie.
Yeah, we're auntie. I'm auntie to all my friends' kids.
Right.
Or,
And it's,
all my friends' kids.
and like we were both athletes as kids. You know, I was a competitive volleyball player, and I ran track and field, and you were a gymnast, and like all of the things, like our moms took us to practice like that. My mom did all of that, like, and
all my dance classes, my soccer games, my softball games. I mean, our moms, I mean, I know my mom's probably watching right now. Like, she'll tell you right now that she carted me everywhere. She made sure we had snacks. We made iced tea in the little containers for the games. And I mean, it's just, moms think of all those little things.
All the little things.
So true.
It's so true.
And it's one of the things a friend of my cousin's reached out to me too. And she's a new mom. I think she has a toddler, and she reached out to me. She said, I think the one thing we're missing unity in community. And I was like, oh, that's something. And that really kind of inspired this too, because it made me think about the community of women that it takes to raise kids, just in general, not to mention little girls, and the influence that they have on their lives. And so you know, that part of our lives, I mean, it's not that much of our lives in comparison to the whole, but it really, it makes us who we are. And I think we can all relate to that.
So true. And even the feedback we've gotten, we released this today digitally. Tomorrow it will debut on Morning Joe. I'm scheduled to do the 9 a.m. hour. So mark your calendars, set your VCR, right? Imagine VCRs.
Oh gosh.
I know. That was a boomer
thing. Junk tape. Gotta put all the things on it. Oh yeah.
No, tomorrow at 9 a.m. Morning Joe, I'm gonna get a chance to talk about it. It'll air there. And the feedback so far, even men, we've had a couple of our male ally friends send us notes saying like that something was stuck in my eye, I think, a little bit with that ad, you guys. And so it really transcends everything, because it's such a universal message, right? Yeah. Well, we are not going back. And why are we doing this? Why do we do what we do? We do it for them. We do it for the next generation. Yeah. And that's what's at stake for us. And I mentioned this last week about our logo for Seneca Project. We picked 3 stars, and we were going through the development process because I'm like, everything's got to have meaning. And so it was my Virgo way of like everything has to have.
It's good. It's good, Tara.
Thank God. And then I'm like, And one of our good friends, we were talking like, how many stars are we gonna have? Like, we can't have 34 stars, and
No,
we can't. It's too many, and then like we just can't have a random number of stars. They have to mean something. And as we
right.
were talking through it, the stars represent the past, the present, and the future.
Hmm.
And that's what this is about. And I think the people who know this know that that's what this is about. It really is
Oh
about the
yeah,
future. And even Joe Biden acknowledged that passing the torch, moving forward, this is about the future.
that's right.
So we had a couple haters, which again,
Yeah.
that triggered us. And we
You know you're
triggered
doing
them.
something right when MAG is
Yes.
mad. You
Yes.
know.
MAGA's really mad at us right now. So if you
I
guys are
haven't
on
watched the
social,
comments on here yet, but
yeah, not I don't know. I don't think on ours, but like on our
okay.
Twitter and stuff like that.
Right, right, right.
A couple of right-wing MAGA activists have attacked us,
Hmm.
which
With a very
goes to
large platform.
with a very large platform, which is fine, but that means we're doing something right because they
Hmm.
took notice. If we weren't doing something right, they wouldn't care. But they took notice. And the fact that anyone could find anything negative about
I,
that ad,
I'm
that
just
that's
like,
where they went to like transgenders in sports or whatever, like
I'm like, that's where
that's
that's
right.
what you got out of
That's
that?
what you got out of
Wow.
that?
Okay.
Okay. Then they're
We,
worrying about cat ladies. Like, we're the ones that are supposed to be miserable. You people are
right.
MAGA is miserable. They are a bunch
Yeah.
of miserable people because they hate everything about America. And all they do is whine and bitch and complain about how horrible everything is. Good God, go
Hmm.
out and touch some grass, people, will you?
It's my
Jeez.
favorite. It's my favorite saying. Go
I
touch some.
know. I mean, like, stop it. Um, Another thing about the Olympics ad that I think resonates is the idea of we won't go back. And I'm
Yeah.
happy to see that Kamala Harris's campaign is embracing that too. Because
Hmm.
we started off our launch with Seneca Project in our Time for Choosing ad with we won't go back. And that will be a reoccurring theme for us. And I see that we're all like in that same lane. Like,
Right.
nobody's trying to go backwards. I'm not trying to do that. You can't move forward if you're looking in the rearview
That's a
mirror.
rallying cry,
It
right? I
is.
mean, it's all
It so is.
and they're the ones saying "Make America Great Again." I'm like, well, when was that exactly? Because
Right.
if it's anywhere before,
I mean, the
doesn't
80s were pretty awesome. I kind of wouldn't mind going back to the 80s. It was kind of cool. Great
I
music,
guess
great
maybe for
fashion.
some people, but like I don't want to go back to then. I think
No,
there's a lot of people in this country who don't want to go back to then.
no,
So like we're all
no.
about going forward and
Yes,
progress and
yes.
building and making things more inclusive in this country. And they want to go back and make things exclusive when
Right.
the only people who could vote were white men with land, right? I
Right.
mean, let's be real.
They're almost saying that,
Yeah,
right? I
they
just
don't
saw
care.
someone say something in the comments. Susan Peters, she said, many of us in Hawaii grow a beautiful white lilac and purple blossom
Mm.
shrub named yesterday, today, and tomorrow. I love
Oh
that.
wow,
I love
that's
that.
really cool. I
Yeah.
love that.
Have you ever been to Hawaii, Michelle?
I've not. I've never been
I
to
have
Hawaii.
been to Hawaii. It's such a beautiful,
I
enchanting
listen, I've
place.
only heard wonderful things.
Yeah,
Wonderful things. It's like a
we've got to
paradise.
get out there. Shout out to Hawaii. I actually jumped out of an
Yeah.
airplane in Hawaii. That I went skydiving there in
I will
Oahu.
not be doing that, but God bless Tara.
You should. You should. But I did
I
it with the Wounded Warrior organization. I was on
That
the
is
board.
very admirable,
Yeah, it
and
was
I
called
love that for you, but I'm
yeah.
never gonna do
I don't know. We might convince you.
No, 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 you're not. I'm not a heights person. I don't like to be up high. I have to take a little Xanny before I get a plane. Like, that's how we are,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah. I,
So,
well,
yeah, I
listen,
wanna stay in the plane or be on the ground, not jumping out of it.
we did it in honor of a triple amputee.
Oh, wow.
It was a Wounded Warrior organization called Team Extreme back then,
Mm.
and he was only one jump away from getting his wings
Oh my
when he was
gosh.
injured in Afghanistan. He was a Navy corpsman, and so the organization would honor these wounded warriors and try to like do cool things for them. And the founder would run in a gas mask
Mm.
in marathons and stuff, crazy stuff.
Wow.
I'm still friends with him to this day. His name is Jeremy Souls. And anyway,
Incredible.
so there was like a trail run out in Hawaii, and we brought them over. And one of my good friends helped fund this. It was amazing. And
Mm.
anyway, so he was only one jump away from getting his wings. So we went to the Pearl Harbor naval base
Oh,
there,
right,
and they were
right.
like, we will give him his honorary wings. We'll jump out of a Team Extreme.
Oh
You
my
guys
gosh.
do the jump. So how could I not?
No,
How could I
I
not
get it. I
skydive with
get it.
that? I
get
should
it.
post the pictures of that. It was
You should.
still one of the most exhilarating experiences of my life.
How many feet is that? Just
So I think we
asking.
were like 13,000 feet up, something like that.
That
So
is
around there, if I
substantial.
remember. Yeah, it was, no, you're up there. You're up there.
You're like,
But,
oh, the people are real tiny. Like,
but I'm a crazy person because you remember,
Right.
what did my husband and I do for New Year's this year? We traversed a
Oh,
12,000
right.
foot volcano in the Canary Islands, and I have the video of us up there. So I'm a crazy person. But anyway,
power
shout
to
out
you,
to
Tara.
Hawaii. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know if I would do it now. I was a little more adventurous in 2010, but
Right.
anyway, everyone, if you've done skydiving, it's pretty cool. But anyway, back to what we were talking about. So like, we also like we won't go back stuff.
Yeah.
It's a theme, folks. It's a rallying cry. Kamala Harris has embraced it already. So I'm so glad we're all in line with that. But I want to show the Seneca Falls ad for those who didn't see it, because we're really proud of that too. And it is the 176th anniversary. It was last weekend, but we can celebrate it all year because women's rights are all the time. Voiced by the amazing Alex Borstein. If you are a fan of Family Guy, you know her voice. She's Lois Griffin. And if you're a fan of Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, she played the agent in Marvelous Mrs. Maisel and won an Emmy for it. So we won't go back. We're going to honor the Seneca Falls ladies who laid the foundation for all of us. And it's our responsibility to carry on that legacy. So check it out.
Oh, yeah.
In July 1848, courageous women came together in Seneca Falls, New York, to start a movement. They dared to fight against treatment as second-class citizens. After decades of struggle, women fought and won the right to vote, to work without discrimination, to control our bodies, to even open bank accounts without the permission of a man. Each one was a triumph against those who believed we didn't deserve them. Well, today, those hard-fought victories are under attack. Donald Trump and his allies are determined to send us back to a time when we had no say, no freedom, no choice.
I got rid of Roe v. Wade.
Do we want a future where our daughters have fewer rights than our grandmothers? Where their bodies are state property? Their voices silenced? Their opportunities erased? We say hell no. We won't go back. This November, we must take back what is ours. For ourselves, for our daughters, and for the pioneers of Seneca Falls. It's up to us.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion? There has to be some form of punishment.
It's so good. It's so good. It's so good. What makes that so good to me is not only that it pays homage to the past, I'm big about legacy, but it also shows you what's at stake. I don't know how many people knew or were needed to be reminded that women could bank accounts without a man.
Right.
Right.
And in the comments last week on this show.
Oh, yes.
Tara and I went through and read all of them.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
I was moved to tears reading everyone's story. I'm 80 something years old. I am 70 something years old. I remember going to get a Sears card and with my mother, and they wouldn't give it to her unless my father had signed off on it because she was married. I mean, these are the things that we take for granted. The independence that we have, not only as citizens, but financially. The power to control your own finances really is one of the most liberating things a woman can have, because if you can determine what you do with your money, you can determine what you're going to do with your life.
That's right.
And if you're being held back by that, by your marital status or by your gender, you're not an equal person in this society, right? And that, I mean, it is just beyond, and it wasn't that long ago.
No, it wasn't that long ago, people. It really wasn't. And like, I can remember growing up, my grandmother used to say, make sure you always have some mad money.
Yes,
And
my mom used to say mad money.
Right? My mom and I were talking about this because she was saying, I remember when Nana had to get permission to get a credit card from Gramps. And she goes, and growing up, she used to always talk about make sure you have a little mad money. Yeah. She used to say the same thing to me. And even to this day, we don't need mad money anymore because you don't even need money anymore. Like cash.
Like,
you can do it from here. But it's
Right.
always
Take
like,
care of
have a little
yourself.
stash just in
Right.
case. But for her, I have a whole different appreciation for that, because for
Yeah.
her, it was legit like, if you ever are in trouble or you whatever, you better have
Mhm.
your own money, because you're going to have to get permission from your husband or
Right.
whomever. So
Right.
we need to make sure, again, this is part of explaining to women what's at stake. That's
Yeah.
the name of our show, The
Right.
Stakes. Oh yeah, Michelle, you put the widescreen on and people can see it.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's all right. There
This.
it is.
And then
There
it
we go.
switches us. See,
Yeah.
and then I got to do this. There
Yeah,
we go.
that's all right.
I've been
Thank
relegated to my office for the show today. My husband has COVID, so I'm
I-
trying to not get it. So I'm just
It's
living
fun.
and working in the blue room.
It's fine. Everything's fabulous. You get to see all your Webby awards in the
Oh,
background
see, there
there.
you go.
Michelle is an award-winning creative director, people. She all those awards on the back there.
Yes, thank you very
She's
much.
too
Jen.
humble.
It was a team effort, but yes, I was
Part of that, yes.
part of that team. Yes. Thank you so much.
So that is our Seneca Falls ad that we were like all ready to do our merch and everything last week, and it kind of got swallowed up a little bit in the chaos of, is he staying, is he going, what's happening? But
Right.
here we are.
Here we are. And
go ahead.
Sunday, let me tell you, Sunday, I know you were doing something in the middle of that. You were doing their video that you're about to make. And I had just sat down. Now I was home with my family, and my dad had surgery last week, and he's okay and he's fine. And some people reached out. Thank you so much. He's doing great.
Yes, Papa Kinney's doing
Papa
great.
Kinney's doing great.
He's a little grouchy, but that's okay. You're allowed to be grouchy, Papa Kinney. We're gonna give you a pass because it was uncomfortable.
Yes, of course. I
he's
think,
doing
you know
great.
what? We'd all be grumpy.
Yes, I'm not mad. I get it.
Of course. But I had sat down. It was a long week, obviously, with Seneca and everything's been going on, and I'm just have been traveling. And so I sat down on my parents' couch, and I had just made this amazing like turkey wrap. And I was like, I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna watch the Jim Henson documentary on Disney Plus, and it's gonna be great. And I literally was like,
About to what? Right.
when it's like Biden's out, and I'm like,
Right.
no.
It was like 2:00 in the afternoon on a Sunday.
I know.
We'd had an insane week already before. Like
Right,
all of
right.
us were ready to just like, can we just take a beat for a minute? Like,
Right.
let's just like take a beat. No. It's okay. We're
But
still
you know
here.
what? This is the nature of the business. Now,
Correct.
obviously, this cycle's a little crazy.
It is a little crazy. This is a little crazy.
2020 was crazy too for its own reasons, but you know,
Oh, this
is
has it
something
beat.
special.
This has it beat.
This is something special.
We had a pandemic in 2020.
Uh-huh.
Well, we had a freaking assassination attempt in 2024 and a candidate drop out of the race the first time ever that, like, under these circumstances, this late in the game, that an incumbent president decided to say, I'm out.
No, you're right.
This beats it. It beats it. I mean, a pandemic is pretty horrible, but there's a lot. This is only July. I mean, good God. So, which speaking of beats it and cray cray, we cannot not address the couch and JD Vance. Okay. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but there's legit been a fact check by the Associated Press, the AP, not the Onion, not the Inquirer, not some like tabloid rag. No, the AP had to fact check a story about whether JD Vance had sex with a couch cushion.
So, my understanding of the whole story is that somebody wrote a joke on Twitter about this, saying JD Vance had sex with a couch, but like the words coming out of my mouth, I'm like, what? And so this rumor just kind of went crazy.
It went crazy.
And then it got picked up. And then the Associated Press had a headline yesterday that said, no, JD Vance did not have sex with a couch. But then they pulled the story because they couldn't, I mean, I guess maybe they couldn't confirm or deny, like maybe he did, we don't know, but they just decided to pull the article. But here's the thing, when you're explaining, you are losing.
How many times have you heard me say that? I listen, I'm a political communications person, and that is like one of our mantras. When you're explaining, you're losing. And somebody tweeted that. They were like, when you're explaining, you're losing is on steroids.
Campaign's going great, guys. Going great.
We were talking on our team chat, and like with our comms guy, and we were like, yeah, dude, could you imagine sitting in the campaign office having to field the questions about whether your candidate had relations with a couch cushion? I can't. But this is where we are.
So I'm like, do I say it? No, it's pretty funny. I saw a tweet that was like yeah, I'm going to say it. There's a tweet that's like a picture of JD Vance and his wife on a couch, like being interviewed. And somebody tweeted, like,
the internet always
world's
wins.
worst throuple.
World's worst throuple. Oh my God. Oh my God.
And I was like, oh my God.
Oh my God. I cannot.
Oh my God.
Cannot. So yeah, that's I can't. So for those who didn't know or who were wondering like what in the actual F is happening,
Yeah.
that's what it is. It became a thing, and it is every campaign communications person's worst nightmare. That makes the "no, I did not beat my wife" example, that throws that out the window. It will forever be this.
Weird. He's so weird that people were like, I kind of believe it. Right?
It's plausible.
Because you know what? Somebody said that he wrote it in his book.
Right, but
and
he didn't.
So I think that's why people were like, oh, I guess because he wrote a lot of weird stuff in the book.
He did.
And so people just believed it. And I unfortunately have a copy of that book. I didn't go looking for it, but now that I know it's not even there, I'm like, ugh, boring.
Correct. Like, so weird, the whole thing. So anyway, so now you're up to date. Yeah. Leave it to us. If you didn't know, now you know.
Now you know.
And now you know. And
there's a reason why people say Veep was a documentary, because this is like a crazy storyline from Veep, which, by the way,
oh yes,
has spiked people since this whole
great show
of candidates. There has been a 353% spike in people watching Veep on HBO Max.
Look, it was one of my favorite shows in the whole world.
It's great.
It's a great show. We love Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Yes.
She's won Emmys for this role, and she deserved it. She played the hell out of Selena Meyer. I mentioned this before. We got a chance to meet her at the Webby Awards in May.
Yeah.
She is a lovely human being. She rocks. And I want to go back and watch Veep. It was written by Armando Iannucci, who I'm a huge fan of because he had his British show over there, the thick of it. And one of my best friends turned me on to Armando Iannucci years ago when we worked on Capitol Hill, because we used to just crack up about experiences on the Hill. That British comedy was great. Then there was a movie. And then when I found out they developed Veep and he was the writer and producer of it, I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. And it's one of the best shows ever.
Yeah. And it's like, listen, even if you aren't in the political scene, it's funny. But if you are in the political scene, it's 10 times funnier, because you're like, the ridiculousness of it is so accurate.
Yes, as someone who's
so accurate.
Yes, who's lived in Washington for
are like this
30 years, I can say yes. Yes, it is really more documentary. It's closer to like life in Washington is closer to Veep than it is like House of Cards. Trust me.
Yeah.
Trust me. So yeah, this has been just the weirdest week ever. But you know what? We have a couple people that are asking questions about who do we think Kamala is going to pick for her VP. I have thoughts on this. We know that she's going to do it before August 7th. I predict it to be before that. But then again, I think they're trying to wrap it up.
Vetting a lot of people.
Yeah,
the vetting process is very, very intense.
Yeah, and she's been through it before, so she knows what it takes. Like normally this is like months in the making, not 10 days or 2 weeks.
Right.
So this is a little expedited, to say the least. So, but I think that, she's going to have to pick a white dude. Okay. So for all the people who are like, Gretchen Whitmer, I love Gretchen Whitmer.
She's amazing.
A badass. I love her. We met her at the Webbies too. Amazing.
Oh, right.
I love her. But it's not going to happen. The country can barely take having a woman on the ticket. We saw what happened with Hillary in 2016. Now you got a woman and a woman of color. There's no way. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, guys. Cynically, that's just the way it is.
You got to play the game you're in.
Yeah.
You
The
know?
country's not ready for it. Same thing with Pete Buttigieg. I love Pete.
Pete was my guy.
Me too. Love him.
Was my guy.
Love him. But there's no way. MAGA's losing it now with a black woman. Imagine you got a black woman and then a gay that's married with twins. Forget it. It's not happening.
Yeah. For me, a dream. I love it.
I think that would be amazing.
For the MAGAs who, you know, have been in our comments all day long. They're,
right.
You know.
No, and I mean, even, you know, there are just people that would be uncomfortable with that still.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, unfortunately.
Awful, but
I know. We'll get there one day. I'm confident the country will get there. Just not today. It's not this election cycle. So she's going to have to pick a white dude, and that's fine. Whatever. There's plenty of qualified good ones, and I personally think it's going to be between Senator Mark Kelly out there in Arizona. We like him. Astronaut, Marine. You know, his wife, Gabby Giffords, survived a horrible attack on her years ago. She was shot at a campaign, at a constituent event. She was a congresswoman and survived. I remember that day very clearly because I worked in Capitol Hill and we didn't know if this was like a targeted thing for multiple members. And I remember trying to find my member to be like, where are you? What's happening?
And one of her staffers died, right?
Yeah, it was awful. But that Mark Kelly, I think, you know, Arizona's an important state, gives credibility on the border issue, which the Democrats are weak on.
Yeah.
And she got saddled with that impossible task. And of course, the MAGAs are going after her on this, and that's their big issue. Mark Kelly would inoculate her from that, a lot of that. And I think, you know, I think Mark Kelly's like around the same age. He might be like late 50s, early 60s.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think he would be a good pick. I don't know if he's dynamic enough. Unfortunately, that's a thing. We live in a very visual society, so I don't know, maybe. But I wouldn't be upset with that pick. I really like Josh Shapiro. And so from Pennsylvania, hugely important state. Hugely
very
important
dynamic individual.
Yes, he's sharp. He's dynamic. He's young. Again, the Democrats have an issue with the Gaza stuff. And, you know, Josh Shapiro is Jewish. But I think that's less of an issue, to be honest. I think those folks who would be upset about that are lesser in number. And they would come home anyway.
Great at his job. Like he's just, I mean, if you look at the guy, just what he's done in the last few years, I mean, it's remarkable what a successful governor he has been. And before that was Attorney General of the state as well. So, I mean, he has a lot of experience. He's young, but experienced.
Yes.
And that's what we need.
Yes.
That's what we need.
That's right, passing the torch. So that's who I would prefer.
What about Andy Beshear from Kentucky?
You know, Andy Beshear, I think would be, if she picked him, would be an interesting, formidable ticket as well. He knows how to talk to red country. He's the governor of Kentucky. He got elected twice there. Kentucky people, Kentucky Democrat. That's like unheard of these days for a Democrat to get.
Right?
Yeah, he is. And so, and I think he would bring some street cred, some country cred, right? Instead of street cred, country cred to Kamala, the San Francisco liberal. You know, that would be, I think that ticket scares MAGA, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I think Josh Shapiro would too. I mean, I think it scares them.
When you see
and
Republicans,
Kelly, all of them.
Oh yeah. When you see Republicans kind of cozying up to Josh Shapiro, I saw something, there was a tweet that McCormick, what's his face, wrote, Dave McCormick, right? Yeah. You know, saying something nice about Josh Shapiro. And I was like, oh, I see. He's popular. He's popular and so people like him.
Yes, they do.
We need Pennsylvania. We need Pennsylvania.
Hugely important state. So it's up for grabs. So I don't know. I mean, I see a lot of people saying Waltz. I don't think Minnesota is it's not gonna happen. And he's a little
funny guy though.
He is. He's a trip. Very folksy. I like that.
Funny.
Some people like Roy Cooper from North Carolina is another one that's on the list.
Right.
Another state that they kind of need, but not as much as they need the Rust Belt, that blue wall. Got, you know, Michigan. Who can talk to Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania the best?
That's right.
That's what it's going to come down to. So I don't know. That's we'll see. We'll find out soon enough. We'll find out soon enough. So I think if there's any other questions, something I didn't answer. Take
We
one
had
more
a little
question.
bit. We have a couple content things here if you want.
Oh, yes. Well, I want to end on yes, we come. Yes, we
Okay.
come. Yes, we Kamala. But let me see. Just want to make sure I get a couple more questions in.
Yeah,
because
of
folks
course.
have been
I haven't
hanging out
looked
with
at all.
us, and we always try to answer some of your questions. Oh, I see a couple people saying like Kinzinger would be great. Listen, the split ticket idea. Speaking of West Wing, right? I brought it up that we're not in the West Wing episode a couple weeks ago. I'm kind of eating my words now, but we're in a different kind of West Wing episode because it's not quite as chaotic as I thought it would be. Thank God. At least not for now. But the split ticket idea, it's never happening. The Democrats are barely keeping it together with their own candidate and their own party. They are never going for a split ticket now. It's
no way.
It's like never happening to this election cycle.
No,
Not saying it'll never happen someday, because I think the American people are getting tired of parties. So maybe someday we will have a split ticket.
Who's to say when? I mean, maybe this is just wishful thinking. There would be a party that emerges
right
from after MAGA kind of really takes over the far right, that there would be a more centrist party that kind of takes its place, that's more majority than the crazies.
Right.
You know, maybe someday.
But structurally, we are far away from getting rid of the two parties. There's a lot that would have to happen structurally, because remember, we don't have a national election. We have 50 mini state elections. So a lot has to happen for that to change.
Yeah.
But it ain't happening in 2024, folks. So no.
Sadly, no. Yeah.
Sadly, no. Well, I think what we're going to do is remind everyone that they can go and get our Cat Lady t-shirts, Seneca Project branded. This crazy cat lady votes, this childless cat lady votes.
Yep. And our website is there right along the bottom of the screen.
Right along there, senecaproject.us, folks, .us, senecaproject.us. All our socials are Seneca Project US. And we are going to leave you with our latest Kamala Harris ad that we put together, because the memes write themselves, and so someone came up with yes we Cam, so yes we Kamala. And we will see you guys next week.
That you will. Have a great
Check it out.
This election, it will come down to the women turning out in the battleground states.
We know that when women show up, we win.
We've got one job to do. We have got to beat Donald Trump and elect the first woman president of the United States.
We have work to do. We have doors to knock on. We have people to talk to. We have phone calls to make. And we have an election to win.
It is a brand new race.
It's a moment that I feel like people are energized.
Kamala Harris is bringing that energy.
Women are fed up. This is their lives. This is their body on the line.
Birth control is at stake.
I cannot vote for a man who rolls back women's reproductive rights.
If Trump gets the chance, he will sign a national abortion ban, but we are not going to let that happen.
Abortion advocates are going to come out even harder for her because they know that she has been their champion in the White House.
The government should not be telling a woman what to do with her body.
It was Kamala Harris that was cross-examining the very nominees that became the justices that overturned Roe v. Wade.
Vice President Harris, former prosecutor. Donald Trump, convicted felon.
I will proudly put my record against his.
She has overcome and overperformed and been underestimated at every turn of her career.
She's broken and smashed glass ceiling after glass ceiling.
And for all of those people asking, you know, is this country ready for a woman president? Is this country ready for a black woman president? Well, you better get ready, because Madame Vice President is coming your way.